Hello and welcome to the Something Better podcast, the City of Bakersfield's podcast, talking about programs and services and other things that are important for our residents here in Bakersfield. I'm Joe Conroy, the Public Information Officer for the city, and today we're actually going to be talking about something that probably we all have done at some point to some extent, and really shouldn't, but you don't think about it maybe, and sometimes maybe even some of the things you're doing you don't realize are this, but we're talking about distracted driving, and it's an important issue to know about and to be aware of. The city actually has a ongoing distracted driving awareness campaign going on right now. And today on the podcast, we're actually joined by Bakersfield Police Department Sergeant Caleb Kiser. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, so we're talking about distracted driving, but before we get into that, let's find out a little bit about you. How long have you been with the police department, and what do you do there right now?
I'm currently assigned to the traffic division. I'm a supervisor there. I've been with the police department for about 13 years. A majority of that has been devoted to the traffic unit.
Okay, and you're from Bakersfield, right?
I am.
So you know this community pretty well. You've seen a lot of things here probably, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about what you've seen when it comes to distracted. Well, I guess before we even get into that, what is distracted driving? What does that mean when we hear that? A lot of people hear that term, but maybe we don't necessarily know exactly what that is.
Sure. The best way to define it is just anything that takes your eyes, your hands, your mind off the task ahead of you. Anything that takes your attention off the roadway. So I mean, that can be something as simple as looking at that cell phone, or it can be a conversation you're having with the passenger. It's anything that takes your focus away from that potential hazards in front of you.
Yeah, and that can happen really quick. And I know I've been, there have been times where you think real quick, like, oh, let me look at this, or let me check that. You're checking your GPS or the radio or whatever, and it, like you said, it takes your eyes off the road, and that can happen real quick. And there's a lot of distance you can cover when you're in a vehicle when you look away for a moment, right?
That's a perfect way to put it. When we get into these collision investigations, we definitely look at the human factors and also the technology factors. Even city roadway speeds, you could be traveling several hundred feet per second.
Yeah.
And just between that and the reaction time it takes to react to a hazard in the roadway, it covers quite a large distance there. A
lot can change in that short amount of time. Another driver stops or pulls out or does something you're not expecting, and if you're not looking, you can't react to it, and things can come up on you without realizing it. And I think I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about you don't think about it, but driving is probably one of the most, I'll say, inherently dangerous things that we all do normally, just about every day, right? I mean, you're moving this large object, heavy object, at very high speeds normally, and it's second nature for many of us, but it's actually a very dangerous act just in itself, right?
Absolutely, and I think a lot of us are blind to some of the dangers that are inherent with driving a vehicle. The way that the comforts and the technology and the safety of modern vehicles, it's really spoiled us into not necessarily recognizing some of the dangers that come with operating such a heavy vehicle on the roadway at speeds.
Yeah, I mean, I know my car has like the little alerts when there's a car that's coming up to your blind spot. It's like we didn't have those before, but now you kind of get complacent because you're like, oh, well, I'll just wait for the thing to blink at me, and then I know there's a car there. Instead of, you should be alert and looking at that, or if some of those technologies where it will actually monitor if your eyes leave the road for a certain amount of time. And so, like you said, you kind of get a little complacent and go, well, the technology will help me out here, but it's really on the driver to make sure everybody's safe.
Definitely. I know, like when I first started driving, we had AM, FM radio, but now with the modern infotainment systems, it's great for passengers, especially those of us that have children. It keeps them distracted, but those are also things that can take your attention away from piloting that vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, even the radios, that's technically a distraction. I mean, you can, changing the channel or even listening to the music, singing along, something like that, or listening to a podcast like this. Hopefully nobody's being distracted while they're listening to this. But all those things can take your attention away from that act, from that performance. What is the law about distracted driving?
So as of now in California, if you are using a cell phone inside your vehicle, it has to be completely hands-free. There's been recent court rulings that even extends now to navigation applications. So
that's new, right?
That is a recent court ruling that was somewhat of an out that people used when they were trying to dispute these infractions that they were receiving for the cell phone violations. But just to be clear, I mean, there is a specific section that says that you cannot use a handheld device while operating your motor vehicle, but posted speed limits are ideal speeds. So if you're traveling at a speed that's unsafe, such as looking down at something, that is potentially something you're going to be cited for as well.
Okay. So why, is the awareness about this? I think a lot of us have probably heard about distracted driving before. You may have seen commercials before, and we have some out there now. Why is it important to raise awareness about this?
It just seems like it's becoming it's becoming a bigger issue. We have the younger generations that are coming in that are used to these tethers of technology, and it's something that it's definitely underreported, but we know based off the collisions that we're investigating that it is an issue. Annually in California, we have over 100 people statewide that die in traffic fatalities that are directly related to the use of a cell phone during that incident.
And tell me a little bit about what you've seen, maybe in your patrols or in your service, in traffic. What have you seen from distracted driving? Is that something you see often?
It is. It's something that is very difficult to prove in certain scenarios. When we get into the more severe injury, criminal in nature type collisions, that's something that we're going to have the resources and the legal authority to further investigate. But with your day-to-day fender benders, it's something that, while we may have that suspicion, we don't necessarily have the way to prove that.
Okay.
But it is clear that when we do have these scenarios where we've proven that people are on the phone, their driving pattern is very comparable to someone that's impaired under the influence of drugs or alcohol.
Yeah, that's probably something people don't realize, is that comparativeness there, that this is basically like if you were drinking and driving. And hopefully most people are not doing that, although I know that that's an issue as well. But, you may think, oh, well, I haven't had anything to drink, I'm being safe. Meanwhile, you're looking and reading texts, or you're sending a text, or you're looking up a video or whatever, even at like a stoplight. I mean, that's not legal, correct?
Absolutely. And I think it's something that as a society we've grown to accept the fact that drinking and driving is extremely dangerous. We've all had personal connections to one tragedy or another, but with cell phones, it seems like we're not quite there yet. It's hard to recognize that little interaction with your cell phone can lead to something just as deadly as a DUI-related collision. Yeah,
it seems like the drinking thing, people get like that, okay, that makes sense that that's inherently dangerous. Your phone, everybody's got a phone. We all have phones. Not all of us drink and drive, but everybody has a phone. How unsafe can it be, right? But again, it's taking your mind off of your duty of driving that vehicle. Tell me a little bit about what kind of like when you go out to these scenes, or I guess let me back up. What would you want people to take away from an awareness campaign like this, like, talking about distracted driving and bringing that to people's attention?
I mean, absolutely, number one would be the dangers associated with it. We've had numerous pedestrian-related collisions here in town where use of the cell phone was definitely an issue, if not the direct causation of that collision. And it's something that permanently changes someone's life, even if it doesn't result in a fatality. Both sides, the driver and the other person involved, we have significant injuries, lifelong debilitating situations, but there's potentially criminal and civil liability there for the driver involved. There's fines associated with driving while using a cell phone, but there's also criminal penalties for that action.
And not only that, but then, similar to drinking and driving, you as the driver, if you're not, if you survive whatever it is that may be, you'll have to then also live with the knowledge of what you've done to that other person or people. It's another burden that maybe people don't always think about. Yes, you may be criminally charged and all that, but you also will know that you potentially either ended somebody's life or you completely changed their lives for the rest of their life, and that can be a heavy burden.
Absolutely. It's nothing that I think that anyone goes into that situation thinking that they're causing harm or potentially causing harm to someone else, but it is something they have to live with for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Do you have any stats about how, either how often this happens here in Bakersfield or how many people have been cited or crashes that have been involved with that?
I don't have exact numbers off the top of my head, but I can say it's definitely something that's increasing. Like I said, overall for the state, we have at least in excess of 100 fatalities a year that are directly correlated to the use of a cell phone. Here locally, I'd say that it's something that, several times a day that we have collisions that are obvious. They have some type of element of a distracted driving. Whether or not we can prove that just depends on the situation. April is our distracted driving. It's a national-wide campaign that we join up with a local highway patrol office, and we've had numerous direct enforcement campaigns where we'll go out for a day, and we've written up to close, I want to say 200 citations in a day. So it's obvious that the violations are occurring, the collisions are occurring.
Yeah.
It's just having the resources. The distracted driving campaign for the month of April, it is something that is grant funded.
Okay.
We're fortunate enough to have tremendous support from the Office of Traffic Safety here in Bakersfield PD. So we use a lot of those resources to try and get out there and do some extra enforcement.
Okay. And, we're still in summer. Obviously, it's still hot out and everything, but we're coming up on August, which means folks or kids are going to be going back to school. So it's even more important to be aware because those kids might be crossing the street or getting on a school bus or getting off of a school bus. Drivers need to be aware of not only them, but also, again, not being distracted while you're maybe moving through a school zone or past a school bus or, those types of things. Talk a little bit about getting ready for the kids getting back to school.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, defensive driving is a must. We do have this population in town as far as children and other people that may also be distracted that are in our roadways. So while it might not necessarily be the driver's fault that a collision occurs, it's definitely avoidable. Mm-hmm. Any collision in general is going to be an avoidable event. There's some negligence on one side or the other, but anything we can do to lower that number of those distracted driving related incidents, it's something overall it's going to make our community safer and a better place to live.
Do you have any tips or anything that people should think about when they get in the car to keep to limit the distractions and keep their focus on the road? Is there anything that you guys would suggest?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, taking the time to work with those infotainment systems and try, and a lot of these modern cars, they have Bluetooth capabilities. If not, the devices that help link your phone to the car. For us, those of us like myself that have older vehicles, they're fairly cheap now. And just in relationship to some of the potential fines, the first fine for a cell phone ticket, somewhere generally around $150. But that is something that potentially your insurance company can find out about too. So the price of just that first violation is fairly significant.
Yeah.
And it definitely increases as you rack up these cell phone citations.
And I didn't think about the insurance side of things, but if you're fined for that or cited for that, and they find out, now your premiums are going to go up, and that's going to cost you more too. So not only the ticket itself, but also ongoing costs for you.
Absolutely, yeah. There's added consequences down the line. In California, the first one's not a moving violation, so it's not something that we would compare to like a speeding citation or something like that. But as you progress, the second one is a moving violation. So that's something that oftentimes insurance companies use as a justification for raising those premiums.
Okay. Anything else? Turn off the phone, put it on airplane mode, have somebody else run the radio or something like that?
Yeah, there's with modern phones, there's lots of options there. Like you discussed, there's airplane mode, there's do not disturb mode. A lot of these infotainment systems in vehicles too have something similar to that, so they can help redirect your attention. But utilizing that technology for better or worse, and trying to be as safe as possible when you're operating that vehicle.
Okay. Anything else people should know about distracted driving before we take off?
Just it is an issue that has been on the rise in our community. We talked about some of the consequences, but I think overall, just everyone's aware now that there is this danger to life, and also, I mean, severe consequences as far as financial and everything else that goes along with that. So if we can get that information out there and just try and change that culture, like we previously discussed, trying to make that to a similar level of driving under influence, because it very much is comparable to that.
Are there any resources or things that people should can go to, like, I don't know, a website or if there's a phone number or something that people can call that to learn more or find out more about what they should do about distracted driving?
Off the top of my head, I'd say the best resource is the Office of Traffic Safety. They have a government website. They have a lot of the statistics we were talking about and some of the resources that are available to help drivers stay as safe as possible out there. Okay,
very good. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Sergeant. This was a really great conversation, and we have a comprehensive distracted driving awareness campaign going out there right now. I know I've seen the commercials on both television and also on some of our streaming services that I use. And we have, I think, also on our social media, and some other folks are sharing it out. So great partnership with you guys and some other groups here in town. So thank you. I want to thank you for coming on and talking about this. It's an important issue, and I hope we save some lives. And if you're out there driving, if you're out there listening right now, or if you're getting ready to get in the car, keep in mind, Bakersfield Police Department is out there, CHP is out there, they're looking for it, and they don't want you to be distracted when driving. Focus on the road, focus on the wheel, and pay attention while you're driving. So with that, we'll wrap things up with the Something Better podcast. Again, my name is Joe Conroy. Thank you for listening. If you like what you're hearing, hit that like button, subscribe on your favorite podcast service, and we will hear you, or you'll hear us in the next one. Thanks.